Welcome back to our third segment of Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Small.
And I'm Paul Ogden.
No, he's not really. He's been falsifying his image.
Beautiful day, Mark.
It's a beautiful day.
Beautiful day here.
This
in
is
an undisclosed location in
a secure undisclosed location.
Secure undisclosed.
Although the helicopters were just going overhead here a couple of minutes ago. It's August 25th, 2012, and our guests are Pat Andrews and Jeff Cox. We've been talking about TIFs, and a lot of people probably have never heard of TIFs and don't realize that they're really a big impact on their tax bill here locally and in a lot of localities across the country.
And I would also point out, I think you live in Decatur Township, Pat, and you have a real problem, as I understand from previous shows, with a TIF down there drawing away revenue from Decatur, correct?
Yeah. Let me back up to one global statement first. In Marion County, or say in Indianapolis, so exclude Speedway, Lawrence, and Beach Grove.
Southport.
Beach Grove doesn't have any TIFs, so
okay.
But if you exclude those, for Indianapolis, 10% of the value of all the property is caught up in TIFs. 10%. And it accounts for $100 million of tax revenue a year.
So that means that money goes into that TIF fund and not into the general fund of the county.
Right. And so generally speaking, I mean, ballparking numbers, that means that we could, if you're a property owner and you haven't hit the tax caps yet, you could, if we dissolved all the TIFs, you could enjoy a 10% cut in your property tax bill. If you've hit the tax caps, some of that 10% would be used to drop you out of the caps. But then we have the, what can be, it's a complication, but it's a critical piece to the whole puzzle. Those tax caps are monies that the taxing units never get. So when you hit the tax caps, whatever's on your tax bill for forgiven taxes are tax monies that the schools never see, the city never sees. So if we were to drop out those tax caps and reduce some of them because of the loss of all the TIFs, those tax caps would actually, the loss of the tax caps would cause more money to flow to the schools, more money to flow to the city and the library and Indigo, even though everybody's enjoying lower taxes. So that's the big picture, is that 10% of the value of all property in Indianapolis is in a TIF, and that's about $100 million that the taxing units never get.
Are you talking about 10% of the revenue or 10% of the property?
10% of the property.
Okay.
And 10% of the revenue.
Okay. And one of the arguments against TIFs as a concept is that a lot of these developments would have occurred anyway.
Yes.
If you let the private market, and this is a shout out to our libertarian friends out there, if you let the
who we want to have on the show next week.
Yes. If you let the private market work, then the private market will provide the development itself. And that brings us to the example of Mass Ave. Massachusetts Avenue here in Indianapolis, downtown runs at 45-degree angle from the circle of Indianapolis, because it's the Circle City because of the War Memorial. There's a spoke. The spokes come out from the circle, essentially. Massachusetts.
They used to. They don't anymore.
It's a Circle City because of Monument Circle. Well, there's a monument in the middle of it.
There didn't used to be a monument. There used to be the governor's mansion. Many.
It used to be a grove of trees before that.
And before that, many years ago, it was simply a bog. But anyways, Massachusetts Avenue, when I started law school in '86, was kind of a rundown area of the city. Right at the foot of it, near downtown, there are a couple of bars that were pretty cool. Front Page, a couple of places.
Elbow Room. Is that right?
No,
that's not on Mass Ave.
That's Fort Wayne Avenue. But anyways,
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
So it was not very. It was kind of a skid row going north of there, and then businesses started moving in, and started gentrifying that area, I guess would be the right term. And it really took off, and now it's a really thriving part of the downtown area. They want to start a TIF for it.
Yes. They want to technically expand the downtown TIF to reach out to Mass Ave, to ostensibly develop probably a 2, maybe 3 acre triangular-shaped block that currently has a fire station on it. And they want to relocate the fire station and then let that block have some development. I'm going to back off for a second. The TIF Study Commission put forward a number of recommendations, and I kind of summarize them in my own head. Is that when the city wants to, or the mayor wants to propose a new TIF, he should be able to present numbers. You know, will this property develop without public dollars going in from a TIF? And that sort of stuff. There are economic numbers that can be put out to the public for their evaluation, put out to the council for their evaluation. And essentially, all of those numbers should be able to justify why this TIF, why this place, why this footprint for the TIF, and why this project. So if I can go back to those 4 and talking about the Mass Ave proposal, that would be helpful to me.
Yeah, sure.
So what they've proposed is a 111 acre TIF to support development on perhaps 3 acre block. So immediately the question comes to mind, why this footprint for the TIF? Is this project so expensive, or is it so risky that you have to have that big a footprint? Or do you have other interests in having that big a footprint beyond this one block that you aren't disclosing to the public? Then you have, they've already taken proposals for that, developing that block. And they have 3 that they feel are viable, and they're keeping them under wraps, and they're not putting them out into the public domain for evaluation. So we don't know what the price tag is. We don't know what's really being proposed. We don't know who the developers are and what their connection might be to campaign coffers. We can't evaluate very important pieces of that.
So they have to pass the TIF to find out what's in it?
Yeah. And then you have, going back to the first question, or why this TIF? Why can't you, if this is so important, give that block away to a developer? They've done that here
in Broad Ripple anyway.
Yeah, give that block away and let the value of that parcel of land be the way that the developer can get the money to raise the fire station. But anyway, and Mass Ave, as you were mentioning, it's thriving. Right. It has development coming. It has development slated for this year. It has development slated for the following few years that are coming from private sources that don't need a TIF.
So, the city of Indianapolis owns that area.
That triangular shape.
The fire station is it in operation right now?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the fire headquarters.
So we could auction it off to developers and let them pay for the land.
Oh my God, no! No, we've got to give money away.
Well, I mean, that's...
We're going to give it away, Mark.
Now you're being radical, please.
I know, but it's like we own it
No,
anyway.
I think that the public should be able to ask these questions. Why can't you sell it to the highest bidder? Why can't you? That's another way to deal with this. They're saying a fire station is inappropriate here in this spot now.
Yeah.
Why not auction the property off? And if it does take some incentive to afford raising the current building so that now you have pristine land upon which to build, that shouldn't be that much money that we have to have a 111 acre TIF for.
That's easy to do.
But the problem is that we are talking in thin air because the city and the mayor are not disclosing any facts about this TIF beyond its footprint. That's all we know. its footprint is
So we don't know who the
huge.
developers are.
We
who
don't know
bidding.
who the 3 bidders are. We don't know what they've bid on, or what the price tag is. We don't have any numbers supporting whether or not Mass Ave can continue to develop without public dollars being put into the mix. So there's a whole. That's the recommendations of the TIF Commission would demand, if implemented, would demand that the city give this information out to the public for their digestion. Now, if the figures show that this is the right footprint, this is the right place, this is the right project, and this is the right TIF, then I'd be willing to support it. And I think, but without that, all we are doing is guessing, and it's so absurd to have 111 acres supporting a 3-acre development that it calls many things into question.
But I think you answered your question about why they're doing this. They're doing it to try to beat the recommendations that are coming down.
Yeah, because there are 5 or 6.
Why now?
There are 5
Why
or
they're
6.
doing it now.
5 or 6 TIFs that are proposed that they're trying to get in before these recommendations take effect.
They would like that.
Now, when do the recommendations take effect?
They haven't been proposed in an ordinance yet.
Okay. So
I don't know. As soon as they start, the clock would start ticking. There is a process, a public process for the council to introduce its recommendation, the recommendations that are under its control, into an ordinance.
Wait a minute, couldn't if the council passes it as an ordinance, then the mayor could veto it then?
Now that's, yes, and what I'm hearing is that they're looking at putting it in the rules of the council, which is not vetoable.
Okay.
So the past TIFs, have those been created by act of the City County Council?
Yes, the creation of a TIF begins at the MDC, the Metropolitan Development Commission, and then it is ratified by the council. And
So it's straight majority?
yes. But after that, the council gets no say on how excess funds are spent, and they would like to have anything over $1 million spent from one of the TIFs outside of paying off bonds. Has to come back to the council for approval. They would like, currently we have any TIF started prior to this year in Marion County has no expiration date unless when it was set up in Marion County.
Did the legislature do that?
The legislation, well, the state legislature just said any TIF started after these ones have to expire in 25 years. So there's a question of the older TIFs, like the downtown TIF, the airport TIF. No, they can go on in perpetuity. And one of the recommendations of the commission was to assign drop-dead dates for all existing TIFs. So we'll have hope of sharing in some of the prosperity TIFs are supposed to bring us.
We're at the end of our third segment. We'll be back in just a minute.
A guest to the program.